Hello friends, welcome to Exampur. I hope my voice is clearly audible. Screen is visible. तो आज बात करेंगे इम्पोर्टेंट टॉपिक के बारे में और इम्पोर्टेंट टॉपिक पढ़ने से पहले we need to know about a kind of relationship we hold with the Sri Lankan economy. We are going to discuss regarding the particularly important topic which is going since long. You need to know the economic consequences of the crisis. Economic consequences, you can take the a kind of glance regarding your neighborhood crisis, what kind of scenario is going on and how it can affect the global economy plus the impact on Indian economy we can talk about. So, we can have a glance why these kind of a crisis has occurred in Sri Lanka economy. We need to have a glance. So many of the reasons are there, like we cannot expect such kind of crisis in a single go, in a one go. We cannot expect such a kind of wide range of crisis, wide range in the segment I am talking about, the thing which cannot be hold or which cannot be managed within a segment. If it wouldn't be able to do it, means some kind of missteps or like kind of a misunderstanding has been there into the consideration in the economy. So missteps and problematic growth, the kind of schemes and policy framework has been undertaken by the Sri Lankan economy just to manage the economy which is beyond the level of their capacity. If I am taking the loan of 1 lakh or I am only having the capacity of building 20,000, how can I expect that problematic growth could be equipped within that segment? Getting my point? You can take the example on your own behalf. If you are holding the capacity of 20k and you are taking the loan for 1 lakh, how can you expect that you would be able to recover that? Such kind of missteps has been undertaken by the economy of the Sri Lanka. Or obviously it is going to make impact on the Indian economy, that is for sure. Obviously we are providing the helping hand, or even we are going to sit in the table where this decision has to go in the sequence. So next point to be noted, why such kind of crisis can occur in the economy. My main objective just to deliver this lecture on the Sri Lankan crisis is to have the glance of economic crisis, what kind of problems or what kind of mistakes could create such a long or such a wide range of disparity in the economy. Getting my point? So, second problem in that behalf, that is foreign reserve crisis. Foreign reserve crisis that could be accommodated at the time of, like if I do possess some kind of security, if I do possess a kind of security, metals and reserves which could accommodate at the time of unforeseen circumstances in my economy. You can take the base for your individual basis. If you are taking a loan from any bank, if you are taking a loan from any bank or you are borrowing from anybody, so you would expect what kind of asset I am holding right now. If you are holding asset right now with you, it means you would be in that capacity to return it back. So that capacity could not be assessed in that periphery by the IMF. That is why they are facing such kind of problems in undertaking, in taking the loan from the world organization I can talk about. We are going to take the name as well. What kind of organization are going to provide the bailout facility to the Sri Lankan economy. Third major cause behind the crisis that could, the shortage of the essential, because we are known about the fact, a kind of problem that has arisen due to the pandemic time, and it has also given the fuel in the kind of a situation of pandemic. Sri Lankan economy is already suffering from the pandemic scenario, as all the nations are suffering from the same. But Russian and Ukrainian crisis has given a fuel in the crisis framework as well. Plus, due to these reasons, they have faced a kind of a shortage in the essential programs, essential outcomes, essential things in the economy. Shortage of the essential thing has increased the price level to the that could be the reach of hyperinflation. We could take the thing into the consideration till 150% to 200%. This is so huge. The way we are talking about in our economy to the extent of 6 to 9%, in the same way, the price level has gone up to the 50% approx in the Sri Lankan economy. So, next point we can talk about here is balance of payment. Obviously, it is going to make a huge impact on the international framework as well. If we do talk about international framework, right now what we were talking about, pandemic, then we have talked about the Ukraine and Russia. Third is all about the essential shortages. You can take it as the supply shortage. Not only in essential but on the other things as well, which is the requirements for the industrial development or the development basis. Next, fourth outcome we can take into the country. These are three reasons are making contribution in the BOP. BOP means you are interconnected with the global scenario. How you are performing on the global range, that needs to be assessed. Getting my point? How would you assess the same thing? BOP is made up of two components, that is current basis, which is dealing with the trade, somewhere short-term basis, which is making the decision, like current affairs also includes the grants factor, what you are receiving or what you are giving. And Indian, Japan, bilateral agreements has provided a lot to the Sri Lankan economy, just to give the helping hands. You can take it as. Yes. This is the best example for those who take loan mercilessly even when they lost job. Yeah, this is the point I'm just trying to deriving you out. You are taking the things beyond your capacity, or you are already aware about the fact. At least you can make the analysis of your capacity with respect to the assets you possess in your hand. On the basis of that, you can make the analysis of the things. So these are the four factors which has made a kind of impact. Why I'm making the surety of these topics before you? Because since long this topic is taken into the consideration, and the same kind of range is going on in the Indian economy, a kind of glance we can put forward for our own economy, what kind of circumstances or what kind of deficit range is going on in our economy. Getting my point? These are only the depths perspective which has drawn the Sri Lankan economy in the underwater. And this has become so tough for them to revive out of the condition. Getting my point? So, current situation, what kind of current situation is going on behalf of Sri Lanka? What Sri Lanka is now trying to make out? Obviously, they need to take the helping hand from a kind of organization. We can only make the expectation from the members and from the friends, whosoever is in position to give the helping hand. So, at the time of requirement, first-hand information or first-hand crisis helping hand could be provided by the IMF. Obviously, IMF could be the first source to provide the helping hand. We could expect on it, but it is not going to give the loan till the long aspect. Their work is to settle down the crisis, but if they are known about the fact, there is no chance of getting recovered the loan, then they will provide a kind of bleak picture towards that economy. Why they always make the assessment, why they always make a kind of estimation regarding all the economy, why they make all projections or outlook for the economy, just to assess the criteria, just to assess the repayment capacity of themselves. Getting my point? If I am giving loan to somebody, obviously I am going to project about that person, that would that person be in position to repay me back? If this is so, then only I would be happier to provide loan to them. Getting my point? This is only the function IMF performs on that aspect. Yes, this is pretty much correct on that behalf, that it is going to stabilize the crisis, economic crisis on that front. But at times, when it see a kind of situation, when seemingly, apparently situation is so visible in front of every country that circumstances cannot be recovered, then how would they provide the loan on that front? So what IMF or what Sri Lanka is making deal of, they are taking the things into consideration with respect to World Bank and ADB. World Bank and the Asian Development Bank refrain from lending new money. World Bank will only provide money if they are looking at any kind of developmental project, just to making them served towards the direction of developed area. They have to make the further assessment. Are you getting me? Like World Bank and IMF have two fundamentals. IMF is only going to make the survival out of this disequilibrium. If there is any kind of instability in balance of payment, they are going to serve only that area. If you do talk about World Bank perspective, you need to make, instead of making the dependence on the IMF, if you want to get served on behalf of developmental project, you need to kneel down towards the World Bank, because World Bank is going to provide loan only on the grounds of developmental or inclusivity perspectives. If they are looking at some kind of fundamental is going on, Jal Jeevan Mission I have given the example of, you are trying to make the sanitation and hygienic programs in India. That is why they have served. They have sponsored the Indian economy on that front. Plus road safety bills, like we are making lots of kind of investment on the road safety front. WB, World Bank, has also served the Indian economy on that front, because road safety is the sixth target from the health target in the SDG. What I am trying to say is, SDG having 17 targets, 70 among them, third number target is all about health. Health occupies nine indicators, among that road safety is the part of it. And it is serving the sustainable developmental goals. Since it is serving the sustainable development goal, India is coming into the front. So World Bank is taking the things into consideration. Next point is all about World Bank. We have already talked about. We want the help of IMF. Next point, the world largest leader, we can have a confident that this person can help us out, because he is having huge money in the world. So you can take the example of US would have to be confident of Russia's fair treatment, that they would somewhere equip the situation. Equip means, what I mean to say here is, if I am in bad condition, I would work hard to make the things settle down. That could be expected by the US as well, that Sri Lankan economy would go well if I am providing a kind of provisions for the Sri Lankan economy. So next you can compare this situation with the Zambia, which has occurred in 2020. At the same time of a situation has risen that time. Okay? Evidently, Sri Lankan economy, what the Sri Lankan economy is doing right now, that it is taking the help of private investors who is holding huge money, huge wealth in their hands. That wealth could be helped. That wealth could provide a helping hand towards the economy, that things could be settled down. If there is no economy, how would you revive yourself? Like we are talking about the investor, the big investors who is occupying the space in the Sri Lankan economy. Plus we are taking the help of bilateral agreements which Sri Lanka holds with herself about the Japan, China and India, whosoever is helping them out. They are taking the help, private investors and the Japan, India, China, they are helping, taking the helping hands in a board meeting, that if I want a kind of helping hand from somebody, so I am going to take 3 or 4 people along with me, so that they can take my side and get the topic sorted. Getting my point? Such kind of negotiation has to be occurred on IMF front, so that IMF could sort this problem on that front. Yes, IMF is not looking forward to helping them out. That is why they are taking the help of creditors and bilateral creditors. Bilateral, what do we mean by it? If they are assisting, if private investors and India, Japan and these all our economy are assisting the Sri Lanka, means they could be treated as asset. Getting my point? If I'm getting along with 4 powerful people, or if I'm taking along just to take help of C person or A person or B person, so I'm getting along with my prestigious people. They can help me out at the time of unforeseen circumstances. So IMF could treat them as in the form of collateral basis. Getting my point? Asset basis. I am taking along the asset material, which can be treated as productive material. Getting my point? So that Sri Lankan economy could get the bailout condition, because every bilateral agreement, we cannot expect a kind of situation from a single economy which could provide such a huge grant towards the segment which is drowning in any ways. Next point is all about why we are discussing too long about it. We need to make it sorted. Things are going widening the gap between the disparities which is occurring in the economy. Plus, we need to sort this matter up, because if this things is not sorted up, it is also making the impact on other nation, especially to the countries which are in neighborhood. Especially India, we can talk about. Extended fund facilities. What Sri Lanka right now has demanded about, that is all about extended fund facilities, means the loan provisions which are being provided by the Sri Lanka, which are being provided by the IMF to Sri Lanka. They need the support at the time of crisis, at the time of huge crisis which is widening day by day. We need helping hand in that parameter so that structural imbalances could be revived. So in order to make a balance in the structure, policy of balance of payment, we need help of IMF. For that being, IMF has to provide the extended provision. Extended provisions means somewhere the repayment capacity timing, the timing for the repayment period could be extended. As the name, extended funding, as the name depicting the pictures itself, that extended means you want more and more time in order to pay the loan back. Otherwise, prices could be occurred again. Getting my point? Why such kind of huge crisis has occurred in the economy? Just because of loan. I have taken loan. Out of the situation, I do not possess that much of capacity. If I am possessing the capacity of 20,000 or I am taking the loan for the 2 lakh, it is not going to make any sense. For the time being, for the shorter time lag, I can make a image that I am doing something, but after a long while, I am going to suffer a lot. In the same way, it is already a situation for Sri Lanka that it would require money from where it can possess the amount. It cannot take the helping hand from a small economy like China, Japan, and it could be treated as small economy because we have to provide a huge loan or grant towards the segment. So we are taking a kind of helping hand from the IMF, which is working on the international zone or taking the help of prestigious economy. Obviously, Japan is the prestigious economy in economical term, be it about China or India. All three are the major player from Asian economy, which is playing the key role even in the global scenario. So if they are convincing about getting the loan to Sri Lanka, it can be done easily. Next point, extended fund facilities. I have already told you about. You want more time for the repayment. You want more and more time for the repayment. If time has been extended and it has already been sanctioned by the IMF, it could be treated as the assistance step. Now we need to look about the IMF lending facilities. Why I have taken the things into consideration. I just want to let you people know about the major organization, how the things go in market on the global parameters. IMF is all about standby arrangement. If you want help, like India, if India possesses help from the BOP, if they are suffering the BOP crisis, they do not have anybody to look on. So India can directly look for the IMF, okay, in order to stabilize the crisis. Getting my point? Sri Lanka, the time Sri Lanka has faced the economic crisis, at the same time, Sri Lanka has expected only for the IMF to make him survive out of the situation. But this is such a huge crisis. If IMF do not observe any kind of repayment capacity, so IMF also would get forced to refrain from getting the help out of the situation. What I will talk about here is extended fund facilities. Extended facilities means, fund facilities means time has to go long. Time has to go long for the period of repayments. ठीक है? तो repayments period has to go long, so I would get longer. I would get long time to come out of the situation. Then I may secure a kind of a margin or profit out of the situation or returns. Third basis point, we can talk about poverty reduction and growth facility. Poverty situation, it is for the poorer nation, underdeveloped countries which are not in situation to work on the welfare parameters. We need to provide loan on such fronts. Poorer countries, we are just talking about the poorer countries. Poorer countries, especially in that domain, WB is providing the helping hand on that front. WB is specially known for the inclusivity, specially known for the developmental criteria, and to revive or to come out of the inequality gap. Next, emergency assistance. Obviously, if you are facing any kind of pandemic scenario, any kind of disequilibrium which is impacting directly to your economy, first one you have to look at, that is IMF, which can make a balance in the BOP. Next point, trade integration mechanism, the monetary affairs which has to deal in the global scenario, that is only the medium of IMF. The way you are making the monetary dealings in your domestic currency with the RBI, who is assisting the monetary transaction in our country, in Indian economy, when we do talk about only money perspective, it is only RBI and Monetary Policy Committee. Right? In the same way, if we do talk about global fronts, who is there to deal with the monetary fronts? That is IMF. He has to prepare the stability reports. He has to prepare the outlook, estimation, projection, whether the person is in condition to repay the things or not. The way RBI assessing the NPA transaction. In the same way, IMF also making the outlooks and projections regarding the countries, to which countries I am in position to provide the helping hand at the time of crisis. So these kind of helping affairs which has to deal with the IMF when it comes to the crisis period. And perhaps what kind of political or things we can take the things into consideration? So China, perhaps China relationship based lender, waiting for the China is also looking after the possibility and opportunity when new Sri Lankan leader would come into the front and make the fresh dealings. In order to deal with the fresh outcomes or mandates, they would require money, and from whom Sri Lanka is going to take loan. They are thinking about only that opportunity, and Sri Lanka would be in that state to take the loan from China only, or China would be in that state to rule over the Sri Lankan economy, because Sri Lanka do not possess any other option than China to take the loan in order to survive in the global scenario. So perhaps it could be taken as the opportunity for China to make the Sri Lanka stand on the feet. And again, Sri Lanka do not have any other option than the China to take the helping hand from. Nobody is going to provide such a huge help for the country, which is not in condition to make the repayment of. So some of these likely to get caught up in the legal disputes due nature, Sri Lanka unilaterally defaulted. Unilaterally defaulted means they are talking about the debt sustainability key transformation. What is required to do in such conditions? 4 key areas which needs to be focused on. 4 key areas which needs to be focused on. We need, what we can talk about all here is, IMF cannot focus narrowly on the revenue based fiscal consolidation, high taxes alone. Getting my point? Accountability, growing public demand. Like if we are expecting the things from IMF, they cannot make a focus on the revenue parameters, how long you are going to get earned from the public in the form of taxes. So they are not going to only look for the fiscal consolidation, how much money you are going to accumulate from the public in terms of taxes. This is not only the single parameters they are making projections on. Number 2 is all about public demand is for making the public finance. Public parameters is just to assess the public finance. They want the accountability point. Accountability point that I am known about where the money you are making investment on. Getting my point? Means public would require the accountability perspective and where you are making the expenditure of finance. Better debt management. Even if you are taking the loan from the IMF or from the other countries, the burden is going to be on public. Obviously, if you are taking the loan, who is going to be the ultimate sufferer for the economy? Only the citizens. That is why they want the accountability where you are making the finance, from where you are taking the loan and where you are making the expenditure. Plus, you need to make a proper optimal management and you just have to make us aware where you are making this. Next point is all about misprioritizing the public spending, especially on the things which is required to be managed, especially social welfare. You need to make the particular investment in the health, education and innovation. You need to make the proper fundamentals for the welfare criteria so that they could widen up their base and enhance their productivity, and that productivity could make contribution in the growth parameters and economy could get revived. So such kind of things. So fiscal consolidation, this is not only the parameters IMF has to look on. Projection has to be on macro variable. There are number of variable we need to make the emphasis on, whether it be about domestic parameters, international parameters and fiscal parameters, and how you are managing the funding problems like financial market I am talking about. Among that, public would require the accountability where you are making the expenditure, where you are from where you are raising the money. If you are taking the loan out of the situation, who is going to the ultimate sufferer? That is public. We are known about the fact. This is the reason public want the reason where you are making the allocation of that debt which has been acquired by the IMF, be it about China, Japan, India, whosoever is providing the helping hand, where you are making the management of this fiscal expenditure. I should be known about it. Being a citizen, I should be known about it. Things should be transparent and accountable. That is the question mark by the public. You need to make the assurity of the accountability concept, and where you are making the assessment, where you are making the investment, that should be put on the prioritized basis. Or what are all those are factors? That is all about health, education. You need to make investment. If you are raising money, you need to make the expenditure on the productive sectors rather than wasting the amount. Next point is all about higher the taxes, widen the base are indeed necessary. Willingness to accept the tighter taxes. They see greater accountability, how revenue is spent. This is all about accountability. Public is raising the question. if you are taking the loan, if you are raising the base of the public, like if earlier it used to be accumulated, like taxes used to be accumulated by 20 people, guess, or now a base has been increased to 100 people. If you are accumulated such a huge money out of the public, then you should make the public aware about where the revenue is going, where the revenue is spent. So second transaction, first is all about the surveillance of the public, you can take it as. Next is about domestic political consensus on the core reform. The thing from where you are taking the loan, you need to make the consensus of the political party or the domestic party needs to work hard on the loan which has been provided by any organization. In order to revive after the situation, you need to give a blunt focus on it. Getting my point? If I have to come out of the stage, if I have to come out of such a huge loss, I need to get so cautious about that point, and I need to accumulate a consensus so that everybody would have to make a plan to revive out of the situation, which would be in sync with the IMF for the reason they are providing the loan to your economy. Getting my point? So there should be sync between the planning of the domestic political party plus the organization whosoever is providing the link. Next is all about policy making must be more inclusive. Like you need to take the people along. The first criteria, 4 key areas we are looking after. First is all about the surveillance of people, which is making towards the accountability, where the revenue is going. Second is all about political consensus has to go in sync with the IMF loan being provided. Third is all about the policy framework, whichsoever you are making this expenditure on, you need to make yourself sure that is it in a priority basis, is it on the inclusive ground. It is not in the way that only growth perspective is going up, but inclusivity is not there. Getting my point? Otherwise, sustainability is no more. If you are making only the growth, but forgetting about the inclusivity factor or the employment generation, it means you are not at all on the base or on the road of sustainability criteria for your own economy. Sustainability is not the concept for the global scenario. It is also the concept for your own economy, for your own image, for your own home. Fourth is all about honest and forward-looking picture. Whatsoever you are expecting, you need to just explain it. You need to just make the surety what policy frameworks are you going to take. Next, why and when and what the outcome would be. How these will help ease the economic distress. Getting my point? Like you need to give the questions of these answers. Like if you are taking the loan from the World Bank, they need to we need to provide the surety to the World Bank for what reason we are taking loan, where we are going to make expenditure on, would it be able to make any kind of outcome out of the situation. Then they are going to make surveillance on that project and going to make the assessment whether this is so or not. If that is so, if that is occurring as per the perspective has been told by the country, then only they are going to make the surety of the loan. In the same way, Sri Lanka has to give the proper examination of the loan being taken by them, what kind of policies you are going to form, where are you going to form, what kind of outcome you are expecting and what outcomes you are achieving out of the situation, and would that going to occur the ease or simplification in economic distress or not. Is if I am forming a kind of expectational solution, if I am going to do such thing, I am expecting, I am having one strategy to come out of the situation, what kind of outcome I could acquire out of that situation. I need to form a output. I need to form a kind of output. The policy framework are being taken, why, when, what outcome would be there, and would that be able to make the simplification on economic distress or not. That needs to be answered. ठीक है, how these will help ease economic distress. Next point is all about the way forward. What kind of situation could be assessed on that front? The way forward, IMF agreement from the staff level to the faulty approved. The way I am talking about executive, in the board executive meeting, you are taking the help of private investors and the international countries, international Japan, I am talking about India, China. If they are taking the help of these members just to assess, just to convince the IMF to getting loan, for getting loan in order to revive the economic distress, has less to do with the political. They do not, they are not making any linkage with the what kind of polity situation is going on in your country. There is nothing to deal with such kind of parameter. It doesn't matter to IMF what kind of policy framework, politics is going on in your country. What matters to us, that is money. How you are utilizing our resources which we are providing at the time of need. So this is the parameters, how more to do with the progress of the debt restructure talks, how you are going to make the allocation, what planning or structural formulation you possess in your mind, how to come out of that situation and the structural formulation, that is the deal. And how you are going to make the structural transformation of debt, how you are going to allocate the debt you are taking. That is the concern on behalf of IMF. They have nothing to do with the political programming. What kind of policy you are going to have, what political grounds are going on in your nation. They just have to do with the structural formulation. What kind of formulation is there if we are providing money to you? Okay, discussion should be productive on that front. Prospective IMF financing is contingent on a fair, expeditious renegotiation. Means if you are utilizing the money, it has to be in such a way that it would not like taking the disadvantage out of people scenario. Like we need to provide a kind of credibility among the public. If you are forming any policy, that should be taking into the consideration with the parameter of inclusivity, so that people would be more happier in order to have more policies and negotiation. It should be fair play on behalf of political grounds, on behalf of public and the IMF. If IMF is providing loan, they should be satisfied. Oh, okay, theek hai, return is going to be back with me. Public should be on that front. If public is being included on the growth perspective, it is good on front of public. Political grounds would be happier if things will get sorted. So three parameters, three segment has to be happier in the front if you are making investment. Prospective IMF financing should be in that segment. IMF should be happier. You have to allocate the resources in optimal way. This is the concern of IMF. If we do talk about Sri Lanka or the political party, if you are making the stability in the country, they would be satisfied on that front. If you do talk about the public, which is making continuous surveillance on the negotiation which is coming into the table, so public would be happier to know if policy framework or investment has to be there for the welfare of public, for the inclusivity perspective, they would be more happier. Everybody would be on happier grounds if renegotiation process would go in the optimal fronts. Getting my point? So this is all set. So we need to make the debt sustainability. You have to take the loan in such a way that I am going to revive my situation out of the distress I am facing right now. Getting my point? Last point or the most important point over the issue, that you have to revive out of not the distress thing, you need to manage the debt sustainability. Getting the help of that loan just to revive the country, plus you need to make yourself sure that after paying back the loan, I would be in that condition to get earning or the pump priming from the country. If I'm making the investment out of this loan, I should be pretty much sure about it that I would be accruing returns out of the situations for longer time period, so that in that long term I would be in that state to make the repayment to IMF or the Japan or China, India, whosoever is helping me up. So loan should be in that segment which is going to make any kind of a return policy to come out of the distress situation. Then it is going to be debt sustainability. So last point but not the least, debt sustainability is the core part which you need to understand. So we can get a glance what we have all talked about, what kind of situation we have faced due to which Sri Lankan crisis has raised. That is the missteps which was continuously going out of the pandemic time, Ukraine, supply shortage, these all the crises, and we do not have any kind of asset which could assist at the time of unforeseen circumstances. Then the precarious which has left a little space to cover the BOP crisis. Next point is all about current situation. Right now, executive board meeting could take place in which private creditors and their international members like India, China, Japan could help them out in order to convince the IMF to get loan to come out of the situation. Then they are just talking about the extended fund facility in which they have to repay the loan in a longer time duration compared to other loans. IMF lending period, these are the provisions which is there to provide the facilities at the time of requirement, whether it be about poverty reduction, emergency assistance. This is the first organization we have to move our eyes towards in order to get a cure. Perhaps the China, we can just talk about, could take the advantage out of the situation if IMF would not provide loan facility to the segment, which could become a kind of like negative, impactful, like it can cause a negative impact on our country as well, on our segment as well, if China would acquire a kind of hold on Sri Lankan economy. So we do not have to provide such kind of opportunity to China. We should be like in that state to convince the IMF that IMF would provide loan to Sri Lanka. Otherwise, China could rock and roll in that situation and could take the advantage out of the situation. 4 key roles are there in which public is making the surveillance. You just have to let us know about the provisions, where you are making the expenditure, where the revenue is going, from where debt management is being going. Next point, misprioritizing the public expenditure. If you do talk about the spendings on the education, health, you need to make the assessment about it, that prioritize the sector which is required to made on. Next point, second point is all about you need to be in sync with the IMF programs. Like if I'm giving loan, I should be in sync with the person to whom I'm giving the loan. Our objective should be similar, should go in sync. Third is all about policy framework, which whatsoever you are forming, it should be inclusive in nature, so that people would happier to know about the negotiation, where the things are going, is that helping us out or not, or the economic distress is easing it or not. Like whatever kind of distress is spreading in the country, your most important aim is to ease it down. Obviously, if a loan is being provided, if you are handling it out, you should be aware about the expected outcome, or outcome should help the negotiation to go on right track, so that economic condition could go down. Economic condition that is negative, it has to go down if you want a relief from distress. Way forward means two things are there. You should be like you have to pass this track. You need to convince the IMF, and the loan which you are getting, the loan you are getting out of the situation, you need to use it in a way so that you could make the people happier, negotiation for the fronts you are taking loan on. Obviously, if I am taking loan, I have to prepare number of projects so that I can convince the international organization that I am going to work on such and such perspective which could take me out of the situation. So those negotiations should work in such a way that could make the debt sustainable criteria. If we do talk about debt sustainable, means if I'm taking loan, project should be in a way that is going to make contribution or going to prevail the return possibilities in the countries, and out of that returns, I would be able to repay the IMF loan plus make the people happier. These two should be the aim, so that the surveillance of people could go down, or check and balances of the people which is making them suspicion should go down, and the IMF scare claim of the IMF or the IMF crisis, in order to sort the Sri Lankan crisis, IMF could get relief that I am going to receive the repayment of my loan. Both would be happier and negotiation could go on the right track. So these are the two possibilities. First, you need to convince the IMF. Second, you have to go on the right track on the IMF, Sri Lankan and public front. IMF would be concerned about the repayment, public is concerned about the inclusivity, and Sri Lankan is concerned about both the things. Sri Lankan political grounds would get stabilized only if both the possibilities could go on the right track. This is your final outcome, or that has to go in sync if that sustainability is going to be there. If I am making any investment and out of that is investment, I should be getting returns out of it. Out of that return, I should be able to make the repayment to IMF, and I should be able to fulfill the needs of the people, which is making the criteria and negotiation in the inclusivity criteria. Okay, these are the two basis points you need to look upon, or this was the first and foremost very important article, it seems to me. Because these kind of crisis and understanding or relativity concept among the nations, you need to be aware of. Only then you can make the analysis regarding the economical variable or on the front of macroeconomical variable. So, thank you so much. DNA article, you will you get to see this lecture, DNA daily news analysis at 12 p.m. Do not forget to come at this time regularly. So thank you so much. If you have any query, you can just let me know about that query. Have a great day to all of you.